Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm here to give you guys my Walking Dead review, Season 9, Episode 3. And this episode is called Warning Signs. And this episode came out, well, at least aired on October 21st, 2018. That is the original air date. So, I don't know if it's aired after that date, but that's, the original air date of when The Walking Dead, at least this episode, aired. But now that I've gone through all that, I know it's been a little over a month since I've reviewed a Walking Dead episode. I've gone into pretty deep detail about that in my channel update video and things like that, so I'm not really going to go into detail about it again, about why I'm just now getting to my Walking Dead reviews, because I've just had other projects and stuff like that going on. School, Christmas, all that. So I just kind of went into it, so I don't really think I need to really go into it in depthly, which kind of sucks that I'm just now getting to Walking Dead, because this season, at least, the last 2 episodes that I watched, has been great. I think it's been, a big improvement over the last 3 seasons, so I'm a little disappointed that I've kind of missed out on this season so far. But now that I've have, a couple of days where I'm not really doing anything, to get these episodes watched and reviewed, I'm going to do that. I'm going to watch 3 episodes today, going into tonight, because I'm probably going to be up to 2 in the morning doing this, and then I'm going to get up tomorrow at some point and review the up to the mid-season finale, so that way when the show comes back again, I can just watch it week to week. So yeah, let's get right into this episode. Not gonna lie, I did watch this episode already, because I thought at the time that I was gonna be able to review it, but then I never got around to it. So I'm just gonna watch it again. And how this review will work is I'm gonna watch the episode itself, then I'm gonna review it, and then I'm gonna watch Talking Dead, review that, and then probably just close the video. So now that I've kind of gone through all that, let's get right into the episode itself. Okay, so now on to the actual episode itself. The episode starts off with Justin reanimating, and he's reanimating by like an old house, and when he walks off camera, we see that on the outside wall it's written "Final Warning," and obviously I like that because it ties into the name of the episode. And then it cuts to the intro. And I talked about it in the season premiere, but I want to talk about it again since it's been a while since I've done one of these reviews. I love the new intro of The Walking Dead. I kind of like, how, because the theme of this episode is trying to enter a new world and, trying to do things a new way. This episode the intro kind of represents that, so I like that. And then, it cuts to Rick, who wakes up the next day and walks outside. It's revealed that Judith has a cough, which probably isn't going to tie into anything, but I'm just going to mention it anyways. And it is kind of cool because in the last season his son had wanted this big change, and I remember they dedicated several episodes showing like a daydream of yeah, I guess I would call it a daydream, but of what his version of the world wanted. And it's kind of cool because when Rick walks outside, it looks exactly like that scenery from season 8. And he visits his son's grave, and it was just pretty cool. And then he goes to talk with Michonne, who's making plans about the next phase of the future, and they have little side talks talking about how Maggie and Dale still don't really agree with their version of the world. So Rick really isn't worried about that, because he says in due time they're all gonna start to see things their way. And they talk about the bridge, and how Maggie's gonna bring over the supplies. he talks about how, and he thanks Michonne for everything, constantly being there for him, helping lead Alexandria, and also helping, you know, with trying to go into the next world. So he has her take a break, and Michonne makes a smart-ass comment by saying, "You want me to take a break and helping build for the future." And Rick says, "I know another way we can build for the future." And they kiss, and obviously this is referencing that they're possibly going to have a kid, which I think actually would be pretty cool. Even though Rick's not going to be in the season much longer, but I think it would be pretty cool if they did something like that. And I have a feeling, you know, when after the next few episodes, maybe it's going to reveal that Michonne is pregnant, but I'm really not sure. They also revealed that Judith, they want to take Judith to the doctors because they want to make sure her cough is just that, a cough. They don't want to make sure it's something more. Then Maggie and one of like the main people we see all the time from the hilltop, but doesn't have a name. At least I can't think of it. Put in the supplies to the bridge, to the Saviors, because they're living up to their part of the deal. And a few of the Saviors come over, and they reveal that Justin is missing, and talk about how they because the hilltop was supposed to get the ethanol from the Saviors in exchange for the food, but they were but that's missing too, because and they think that the hilltop has something to do with it. I liked this scene right here because it was kind of a symbolic way to kind of show that even though the war's over, there's still tension between Maggie and the Saviors, which I think is pretty believable in a war. I would imagine, like, if you've been in a war with somebody, like a World War II or World War I or just any type of war, even though the war is over, you're still going to be those, you're still not going to particularly like the person at the end, or, the group of people that you're representing. So, one of the Saviors, who we later find out's name is, I believe his name is Jed. I think that's how you say his name. But one of them, eats one of the tomatoes and says that they're gonna mark you down for that. And then you do get to see, though, what is nice, that some of the Saviors, you can tell, are trying to make a change. Like, I don't remember the name, the main Savior, but the main Savior that ratted out Dwight, revealing that he was working with Rick and stuff all along, has made a change, but I don't remember her name off the top of my head. I think it's Laura, actually. She's kind of like being rational in the situation, so it is kind of nice to see that some of the Saviors are trying to change their characters. So then, Maggie and stuff still kind of questioning why they're doing this, but Maggie, you can see throughout this episode, is trying to do things Rick's way, and they continue to ride off, and they see reanimated Justin. So then, back in Alexandria, which I guess Alexandria really doesn't have a lot of people, because you only see really Rick and Michonne there, nobody else. But Rick and Michonne and Judith are having some nice family, a nice family day. They go to the hospital. They play hide and seek. They do that thing where parents hold the little kid's hands and swing her up in the air. They play swords with sticks. Rick and Judith have a crawl-in race, and then they read like this book, which probably was supposed to be symbolic or something. But for me, it's going to be nice because obviously this is possibly going to be the last time they're all going to do things as one big happy family, since this is Rick's last season. So it is kind of nice that we get to see this type of stuff. And in a zombie apocalyptic world, it's nice to see this type of stuff because it doesn't happen very much. There's not normally positive things that happen throughout this TV show, which I think that's one thing that's definitely changed in season 9 of The Walking Dead. I kind of like that we get to see a little bit more positive moments. While there has been some, the negatives kind of should happen more because it's a zombie apocalyptic type of world. I feel like where the later seasons of The Walking Dead was we didn't really see enough of those positive moments. Now, granted, they were in a war with the Saviors. There wasn't going to be a lot of positivity, but it was nice from time to time when we got to see that type of stuff. Even in the Fear the Walking Dead, I like that you get to see that type of stuff. And I feel like season 9's kind of done a better job. You get a more overall positive feel about certain types of the world. But then one of the somebody comes over and reveals that Justin was found reanimated, but they think somebody murdered him. So Rick realizes that he's got to deal with this. And this is the last we see him with Sean throughout the rest of the episode. So what happens is, everybody at the bridge, wherever the bridge area is are all accusing Dale of doing it because obviously him and Justin weren't on good terms in the last episode, so that makes sense to kind of point accusations at Dale. People think that Anne did it since Anne's kind of like the outcast of the group, so she would have the most reason to do it. So the Saviors and everybody else get into a fight. Carol, they get upset with Carol because they're not because Carol tries to pull a gun at Jed, and Jed's like, "You're supposed to be our leader here." So one of the Saviors, I think it's Jed, is gonna kill Daryl, and before it gets too hostile, Rick comes over, calms down the whole situation, and also the Saviors get upset because they also want guns because so that way they can protect themselves, and they get upset that they're not getting any guns. So I'm going to kind of talk about these next couple of storylines because this is kind of when the show kind of goes separate for a little bit. Rick confronts Gabriel, and he's not suspicious that Anne possibly did it, but he wants to make sure. He's just kind of double checking because he knows that a lot of accusations are going to be pointed at Anne's way, so he wants to make sure that he was with Anne the whole night, the previous night, and obviously make sure that Anne isn't a suspect. But Gabriel lies and says that he was with Anne all night, but really he wasn't. So when Gabriel goes to confront Anne about it, Anne at first says that she didn't do it, but she won't reveal, obviously, because we saw in the last episode that she saw that helicopter. When he asked if she saw anything, she is being very suspicious about it. So what happens is later on they go to the dumpster, not the dumpster, but whatever you call, the dump, that's what it's called. Where her, obviously where her and the scavengers used to hang out before they were killed by the Saviors. She goes there and she radios in and to somebody, and she actually utilizes her old name Jadis because that's probably what they know her as. And they get asked, and they ask her, someone, we don't know who it is, if they have an A or B trade. And Anne says that she doesn't have any of them, and says that that it's just her, but then eventually says that she has an A. And Gabriel, we find out, was following her, so Gabriel's asking what she's doing, and Anne really isn't answering any of her questions. But then Gabriel finds out that, you know, Anne's traded people in the past, and she was going to do the same thing to Gabriel and Wick. And Anne says that she's doing this, obviously, because originally she needed to get supplies for her group, and then she just continued doing it. So she wants, you know, and then she also got upset because nobody stuck up for her when the Saviors were about to attack her, except for Gabriel. So she wants Gabriel to leave to for a better place where they can spend the rest of their lives together, but not tell anybody. So Gabriel doesn't want to do that and says that he has to tell Wick. So when Anne realizes that she's not going to change Gabriel's mind, she knocks him out with the radio, I think, but I forget exactly what it was. Well, it might have been a gun. And obviously we don't see anything that happens with that. We're probably going to find out what happens in the next episode, so there's that. But I actually kind of intrigued about this. I'm very interested to see what's going to happen with this. And I can't wait to see what they do with that. I actually kind of like that storyline, and I like that they didn't really dive into it too much, because I think, you know, obviously sometimes in episodes when you start a storyline, you don't want to jump into everything right away, and they kind of had a bigger plot in this episode, so this was kind of like a subplot to probably set up to something that maybe could become like a big plot later on in the season. So I like this. And then as all this was going on, they were continuing that storyline about what was going on with Justin. So Wick, well, first one of the old Saviors, I don't remember his name off the. I think it's Aldous. It was something like that. Still wants the Saviors to have guns, but not all of them, but just ones that they can trust. And Wick says that they'll consider it. So then, Wick and Maggie look at Justin's dead body, and Wick notices a hole has suspicious hole was made, but it's not like a bullet hole. It's an arrow. And obviously we know that Dale has his crossbow, so obviously Wick immediately believes that Dale is behind this. So he goes to talk. He pretty much investigates Dale, and I kind of like the way he did this, where he interviewed him as if he was a police officer. And Dale said that, you know, Wick doesn't think Dale did it, but he wants to also make sure that, you know, because Dale is being highly accused of doing this. So Dale says that if he wanted to kill Justin, he would have done it in plain sight and not been a coward about it. And Dale doesn't think it's fair that the Saviors are getting the type of future that, you know, Wick and everybody have been fighting for. And also everybody that lost their lives at the hands of the Saviors. And Wick says that, you know, he sometimes had the same feelings that Dale, he at one point has the same feeling that Dale had, but at some point it has to come down to all of us. It can't just, the world just can't be ruled by the dead. So, you know, Dale goes to walk off, but Wick wants Dale to try to, you know, see the world the way that Wick sees it, because the last time you did try, you didn't murder someone that left your brother handcuffed to a roof. Which I kind of like that he said that, because obviously Wick and Dale's friendship throughout the show has grown stronger and stronger because Dale didn't kill him. So I liked this. I liked this conversation that Wick and Dale had, and like I said, I enjoy like that they're not seeing eye to eye, because obviously they think that the world should be at a different place. So then they separate into different groups. Dale and Maggie separate into one group, No, actually, that doesn't happen until later. Maggie and Cindy are in the group first, and they find a couple of walkers. And Cindy reveals that they lived at this place prior to, the Saviors taking it over. So they realize that there's walkers there, so they go to execute them. But there's just too many walkers that they start to outnumber Cindy and Maggie. So Dale comes over and saves them, and they kill all of them. And they get, they had 5 grids set up of people, but one of the grids was supposed to have gotten there before Rosita and somebody else. So then they find B, which is, I don't know Beatrice, I think that's how you say your name, but I'm just going to call her B because that's what they called her in the episode. And we see that she's been knocked out by somebody, and she was with a rat. I think that's how you pronounce it, or it's but they call it a wad. So, and said that somebody knocked her out, and a rat's pretty much missing. So, everybody else kind of decides what to do about this, and because they know it's gonna lead to a war. If they between the Saviors and everybody else, if a rat's not found, so they decide to keep looking for a rat until morning, and then they decide, Jerry asks a question about what they're gonna do about whoever's killing all these Saviors if they're caught. Are they gonna do what? Are they gonna do it Maggie's way, or are they gonna do it Rick's way? Which I kind of like that they did this, because Rick and Maggie give each other a look like they don't really agree on stuff. But then Cindy's kind of the one that has to say they'll be dealt with. But I kind of like this. It was kind of a nice little way to kind of show that Rick and Maggie kind of don't really agree with how this new world should kind of be taken. So I actually like this a lot. So then Rick and Carol kind of separate into one group, and because Rick says go to somebody that you mostly trust, and I liked that it was Rick and Carol that kind of went with each other, because obviously, and it was Daryl and Maggie, because obviously Daryl and Maggie both kind of see how the world should be. They both are in agreement that Rick's way is wrong, so I kind of liked this. Actually, I really liked this. So, Carol and Rick talk about the future of the world, and Carol says that when that whole ruckus was going down with Rick with the Saviors and everybody, she just wanted to pull the trigger because she wanted it to be over. But something told her that we were gonna find a rat, and that pulling the trigger is just the easy way out. And Rick says that sometimes he has those moments in the morning where he just wants to go down there and just kill Negan because of everything that happened, but there's just something that's telling him not to, because it's the dead taking over the world. And I think back to people that we have lost, not just with the Saviors, but just since pretty much the zombie apocalypse has begun. And then they continue walking, and it gets dark at this point. And we see Jed, and he's pretending to be a walker, and he takes Carol hostage, and meets up with his friend DJ, and Rick holds him at gunpoint, but he doesn't want to kill him because then Jed will end up slicing Carol's throat. And pretty much Jed and DJ want to just leave, and abandon the bridge project. And that's obviously too what Rick's worried about, is that if the Saviors leave, the bridge won't get done, and they could end up losing the bridge. So what ends up happening is Jed wants Rick to hand over his gun so that way they can have something to protect themselves with, and Carol, without him knowing about it, pulls out a knife, and Jed talks about how what do you talk about? Oh, how life, all life has meaning behind it, and it kind of goes based on that. And Rick pretends to give up his weapon, but then Carol uses it to stab him right in the shoulder, and Rick forces them down on their knees. And Rick doesn't kill him because all life matters, and I kind of liked that notion behind that. And then what ends up happening is Maggie and Dale are separated with each other, and Maggie and Dale are kind of talking about how whether or not they want to continue this world with Rick, and Maggie's kind of telling herself that we're going to try it Rick's way because it's what's best for Herschel, but sometimes she thinks about how things could have been if the Saviors had never killed, if this war with the Saviors never happened. And they find some walkers, and Maggie executes one of them, and Dale finds one of the spears from the from Oceanside. So Dale figures out pretty much who took who's been killing the Saviors and who took a lot. So they go to the house that Cindy used to live at, and Cindy has a lot at gunpoint, and B's there too. And what I'm thinking, and obviously they didn't tell us this openly, but this is just obviously what I pretty much know happened, is B probably pretended that she was that she got waylaid by somebody, so that way it would look like that the Oceanside isn't taking the Saviors and killing them. And we find out that they've been taking the Saviors, and Cindy reveals that this was once their home, and talks about how they made a community until the Saviors came in, and they wanted all their supplies. But then we got and fought the Saviors and won because we believed in the cause. And they tried to do everything Rick's way because they thought that they had to. But then when Maggie kind of started to do things her way, it made them realize that they don't have a choice, that there's more than one way to do things. They have multiple choices. So that's why they're doing this. And Maggie does try to talk them out of it. And Cindy reveals that the night that the Saviors attacked, Lot was the person that killed Cindy's brother. And, Cindy was begging for mercy. She had to choose between her life and his, and says that she loved him. And Lot tries to explain herself by saying that, the Saviors would have killed her. But Cindy's not having any of this. She says that she was laughing about it. And there was something that she said before she killed her brother. And Maggie wants to know what it was. And we find out that it was no exceptions. Now, obviously, this is very symbolic because that's the last word that Negan said before Maggie's husband Glenn died. So I actually kind of liked that because it made Maggie and Dale go, turn around and leave, and pretty much just let the Oceanside kill a rat, and that's exactly what happens. They kill her. The next day, the Saviors leave and abandon the bridge project and go back to the sanctuary, and Maggie and Dale say that they tried doing things Rick's way. Now it's time to see Negan. Now, obviously, this is continuing that storyline because at the end of season 8, Maggie says that they were going to strike and kill Negan at the absolute opportune time or something like that. And they give Rick's way a chance, and now they're going to go kill Negan. So this makes me wonder what's going to happen in the next episode now of The Walking Dead, which has me really looking forward to that. And yeah, that was pretty much the end of the episode. So as for what I thought of this episode, I really liked it. I liked the main storyline that they went with, and I still like watching this conflict between Rick and Dale and Maggie, and obviously, Michonne being a part of that, about how they think the world, about what the next phase of the world should be now that the Savior's battle's over. And I enjoyed, the end part of the storyline, how they set up that subplot. I don't know what they're setting up there, but I enjoyed that. I enjoyed, obviously, the big storyline, which really was the main focus of the whole episode, of Rick, of who killed Justin, and then who's been taking all the saviors and stuff, just to find it to be the Oceanside, which I thought was a nice twist. I didn't really expect it to be Oceanside. I think everybody was expecting it to be that Whisperers group that's coming, which I don't know if it's already came, but you get what I'm saying. And they kind of twisted it. I'm assuming it's still coming, but we'll just have to wait and see. And obviously, like I said, I enjoyed that Rick's kind of trying to be rational. You see Rick kind of struggling to kind of stick with his beliefs. You see Dale trying things his way, Maggie kind of trying things his way, but then at the end of the episode, they were just kind of like, we're going to do things our way now. And the episode leaves you with a cliffhanger. Makes me wonder what's going to happen when we see Negan, because we really haven't seen too much of Negan this season. We saw a little glimpse of him at the end of the last episode, when him and Rick were talking in his jail cell. So I'm actually interested to seeing what's going to happen with this. So yeah, that's pretty much the end of my review of my review of the episode. As for my letter grade for this episode, I'm going to give it a B. I thought it was really good. I don't think it was quite as good as the last two episodes, but it really didn't need to be. I think what Walking Dead's getting away from, it looks like, hopefully, is, it's just kind of sticking to the story. Because what I noticed Walking Dead kind of started doing was the groups would kind of get separated, or they would kind of go on to do their own things. Like, for example, like Maggie and Daryl, this storyline would have been separated and would have taken up a whole episode. I think they're utilizing the episodes better, because when we had the Saviors thing go on, there would be one episode focused on the kingdom, then one episode focused here, and then here, when they could have just done episodes meshed together and stuff. I actually enjoy the fact that they're not doing that anymore, so I like that. But yeah, I thought this was a really good episode. I give it a B. Now let's see what everybody else thought of this episode. Now, I looked at this at the time, and I have to kind of look at this again. On IMDb, people gave it a 7.7 out of 10, which is like a C plus. So it gets it gets some nice praise about it. People said, I see some 10 out of 10s. People saying it's an awesome episode. I'll just read some comments. He says, really good episode. Nice seeing Angela tying up all the loose ends, giving more details and clues about the helicopter. Amazing episode. This is an 8.5, but I'm giving it a 10 to counter the trolls, giving it a 1. Because obviously, and then it says, people, great season so far. Another episode that proves that The Walking Dead is coming back. Judith's scene with Michonne and Rick is so good. So to see that I've been waiting for more times like that. Good episode, Angela Kane. So everyone's kind of praising Angela Kane. I don't know how to say her last name. Another 10 out of 10 episode, no exception. I wish I can watch all the season now. The show is getting better and better. The writing, the dialogue, and music are all outstanding. Just a perfect episode and the best episode in way too long. Thank you, AMC, for getting Walking Dead to life. I want to find like a 9 out of 10. Very good episode. Glad to see that Walking Dead is going in the right direction with mystery and drama. I also very much liked the music. It made the episode much better. So a lot of people like the music of this episode, which I actually might agree with them. I like the music. This person, though, did not agree, and the 7 out of 10 episode make same mistakes. But yeah, I see some 7s out of 10s. I see some 1 fake reviews. So some people liked it, some people hated it. I really can't find a 1 out of 10 at the moment, though. But the fans overall liked this episode, but the critics liked it even more. Which, like I said, the fans and the critics, I mean, overall they did agree, but it didn't get the same rating. It got 100% on tomato meters. It averaged an 8.43 out of 10. There was 18 reviews. It had 18 fresh and no rotten reviews, which is actually a very good thing. What people thought of this was kudos to all the performers in the episode's climax. Really gripping stuff. I sense that this is designed for heartbreak. Michonne seemed hesitant when Rick mentioned building a future. Another one says peaceful times are short-lived on the show, but when they do happen, they are cherished. And then I'll read one more. The AMC drama reached seldom seen emotional heights when it revealed those responsible for hunting the former villain's death. So, a lot of people a lot of the critics like this episode, and I agree with them. But that's pretty much the end of the review portion of the episode. Now I'm going to watch Talking Dead and have my review up for that. So I'll be back when I'm done watching that. Okay, so now on to Talking Dead Season 8, Episode 3, with the same episode title as this episode of Walking Dead. It was hosted by Chris Hardwick, as always, and we had this episode's guests being Pollyanna McIntosh, I don't know if that's how you say that, but that's what I'm going to go with, and Sydney Polk, and they talked about a lot of stuff, pertaining to the behind-the-scenes episodes of The Walking Dead, but some things I'm going to take note is they did a poll. They did several polls, actually, talking about whether or not Maggie and Dale did the right thing by walking away, letting Cindy kill a rat, whether the Oceanside was in the right to do this, and like 83% pretty much voted on both things, and like 13 to 16% voted that they didn't. I'll give you my thoughts. I think I think Oceanside had every right to kind of do what they did in a way. I can definitely see their perspective. I can see Rick's too, but be in their position, if somebody had murdered one of my relatives and stuff, I probably would have taken vengeance myself. So yeah. They did, and what else? They did some Easter eggs about the scene where Cindy and Maggie went to the house, and one of the Easter eggs was the hospital scene when the very first episode of Walking Dead, when Rick was leaving the hospital. They had the hands reaching in through the cafeteria door. Obviously they had the hands reaching out by the house. They did mention, and I didn't mention this, that the final warning was written by Simon, because Simon was the one that went over there. And they did mention a good point, that Cindy might not even know who Negan is. They could have just thought that the Saviors was just ruled by one person. So I thought that was a good point to bring up. And maybe Simon wasn't supposed to kill the Oceanside just like he was, because we know that Simon did that before when he killed the scavengers without Negan's approval. So I thought that was a good point to bring up. They did some interviews with Andrew Lincoln, Norman Reedus, and Lauren Cohan about certain scenes that were filmed in the episode and stuff. And they did one with I don't know her name off the top of my head, but Michonne. But I don't know the actress that plays her off the top of my head. And a fan was allowed to ask a question. Paulina kind of alluded to what the A and B trades meant, and obviously but she wouldn't tell us what it was. We're probably gonna find out about that in the next episode. And they showed a sneak peek of the next episode, which I'm gonna watch in a couple of minutes. But the biggest reveal that they revealed, the biggest thing they revealed was that the next two episodes are going to be Rick's last episodes, which I think makes me really want to watch them. I'm going to watch them. I'm not going to go to bed until I watch and review them. But obviously that kind of sucks. I obviously don't think it sucks as much because of Walking Dead's improvement. Like I said, I still will watch Walking Dead. If it, but so yeah, but I wonder what that will be like. I can't wait to watch those. But that's really all I have to say about it. Fear the Walking Dead, though, really wasn't. I enjoyed watching some aspects of it, but it reminded me why I stopped watching Fear the Walking Dead for a while. One, because I kind of stopped watching Walking Dead for a while, so I would have been spoiled. But also, it was because it gets to that point where it's goofy, and I don't really want it and annoying, and it's so over the top that it just had me turning it off. And this episode was kind of one of the cases, so I guess it is what it is. I don't typically like to grade Talking Dead because it's really pointless to do that. So yeah, that's what I thought of Talking Dead, though. That was just some additional things they were talking about. So there's that. And that's the end of this video. Thank you guys for watching. Please make sure you guys like, comment, and share this video so people will watch it. Make sure you guys subscribe to this channel for more content and click on the bell so that way every time I upload a video, you guys will get the notifications for it. Make sure you guys do the same thing for my CM Brothers YouTube channel because I just uploaded a video on there as I was watching this episode. And that's pretty much it, guys. Talk to you later.